someone who's, for better or worse, dubbed as a 口语好的英语博主, I'm here to tell you unironically that fixating on 口语 is problematic, not conducive to English fluency, and if you want to carry your conversation well, there's more effective, if not direct, strategies to go about it that don't necessarily require you to have an outgoing personality or more confidence or anything that's not within your control. But before I start this video, I'd just like to introduce myself, or I guess reintroduce myself, because there's been a new surge of attention, wanted or unwanted, depending on what platform you're watching this video on at least. But if you don't want to listen to any of this, just skip to this timestamp. Hi, my name is Ella. I started learning English really seriously on my own at home when I was still living in China about 10 years ago. I'm 27 now, so that would be 17, 16. Most of what I did was unconventional. Like, I didn't go to English corners every day. I wasn't talking to native speakers every day. Most of what I did was just reading, watching TV, reading the English subtitles, and noting any word that I don't know down on a piece of paper or in a notebook. Like, I spend most of my time just reading the simple sentences or words and expressions and phrases in the dictionary. I digress. Let's get down to the business. Why fixating on 口语 is problematic, and what to do instead. Why is my alarm going off? Reason number one, 口语 is an elusive concept, and you can't improve something that you cannot accurately define or measure. And this always happens when something is so big and when it plagues so many people. It could just be like 盲人摸象. As in, 这个人摸到象的腿的时候就觉得，哎，这个东西是圆柱体的，或者说如果是脚的话是这个长方体的。然后那个人摸到象的耳朵的时候就觉得，哇，这个东西是像扇子一样。Although they are talking about the same thing, you're not seeing the individual aspects, the individual characteristics of this huge umbrella term. Like, it's sort of become this buzzword that's thrown around by professionals and amateurs alike, sometimes to entice you to like sign up for their programs. And I try not to do it, but it's very enticing. Once you say 口语, everybody is like all ears. But yeah, the term 口语 has been thrown around so much and so callously that these days people don't really even understand what 口语 is. So in response, in order to improve it, I like to give a working definition first. When most people are referring to somebody's 口语, it could be a number of things. A, how good someone's pronunciation is. B, how good someone can express themselves verbally. And C, sometimes people say 口语 to refer to the real, authentic English that native speakers use on a daily basis, as opposed to the traditional textbook English that's oftentimes slower, impractical, and sometimes scattered with Chinese expressions that are not really English. They're Chinglish. The next one is common spoken and informal sayings, including but are not limited to 俚语, slang idioms, you know, internet language, internet lingo, and even regional vernacular. And then finally, this one is sort of taken for granted and almost never talked about, which is the ability to comprehend other people's speech. Because when we think of 口语, we rarely ever refer to monologues. Like, you're not just talking to yourself, right? Hopefully you're speaking and you're understanding other people. So often people just like neglect the comprehension part. Like, that's the first step that you should start with. Like, you should strive to understand other people first before you can like express yourself fully. For instance, I can recite or almost recite a speech in French, but you'll never say that my 口语 is good, because if I were to have a conversation with the French native, which I mean I currently live with one, I will just be speechless. But it's not my 口语, it's just my everything in French isn't good enough. I mean, my pronunciation is half decent, but that doesn't mean my 口语 is good. That makes sense? And the problems with referring to these individual aspects as 口语的好坏 is that A, someone can totally have a bad accent or subpar pronunciation and still speak impeccable English. What would you categorize them as? Do they count as 口语好的人 or 口语不好的人, right? And problem B is that expressing yourself is much more intricate, and it requires more deliberate practice that goes beyond just speaking or opening your mouth. When you say, oh, my 口语 is not good, it doesn't tell you exactly what is going on, which problem that you have, and what area you need to work on. And it sort of just grants you this permission to not think about what exactly is going on beneath the surface, and it encourages you to blame your problems on outside circumstances, or like something like your personality, your confidence, which has nothing to do with how well you speak, okay? Don't blame your lack of competence on confidence. Instead of saying 我的口语不好, try asking yourself, is it my vocab? Is it my pronunciation? Is it my comprehension? Is it because I haven't read enough? Is it because I haven't listened to enough speeches or watched enough TV shows? That's all part of it. And another reason is that 口语 is so vague and therefore hard to quantify. Like you could measure how many words I know, how many words I know enough to use in my speech. You can measure how good my pronunciation is, but you cannot quantify 口语 in the same way. As in, people rarely say, oh, your 口语 is like 70% or 80%. It's just two extremes. You're either good at 口语 or bad at 口语in most cases. And most people, myself included, are on the spectrum. For instance, I would never call myself good at 口语 because not only is it vague, it's also very extreme. Like I'm still learning new words. I've gotten so much better throughout the years, but years before when my pronunciation was just decent, and still people were like saying, oh, your 口语 was so good already. It's like, no, my pronunciation was good. I could sort of express myself, but my 口语, what even is that? And on the contrary, somebody might have a stronger or a different accent than I do, and you can tell that they're not from a certain place, and that's okay. But they have read more stuff, they have written more stuff, they have more words in their inventory. They know how to express themselves more eloquently, more articulately, and that's oftentimes ignored. Like that's oftentimes dubbed as 口语不好 just because their pronunciation is not good enough, or like a native speaker. I have to be so pensive and so particular and careful when choosing my words and writing my speech. And yes, this is a speech that I wrote beforehand. I didn't just come up with this off the cuff. But a lot of you are going to watch this video and think, oh wow, she can speak. Her 口语 is really good. When really it's my writing skills. And my writing skills come from my reading skills, because good writers, first and foremost, are avid readers. So it really doesn't start with speaking. You know, it started with reading. It started with having all these language input. That's the point I'm trying to get across. 口语 is a very all-encompassing aspect. It incorporates even your reading skills, even your writing skills, even your listening skills. So yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. So at this point, you're probably like, what the heck? What am I supposed to do then? Like, I want to talk. I want to use my language. I don't want to study textbook English. I don't want to fixate on tests. First of all, I'm not promoting that you go back to textbooks and then you learn a bunch of things that are not practical, that are not used by native speakers in everyday life. No, that's not what I'm promoting. My intention is for you to be able to carry a conversation. Like we're learning practical English here. And step number 2 is to break things down. Pinpoint exactly which aspect. And I would even wager that most people don't even struggle with speaking necessarily. Like they struggle with, first of all, understanding things, as in listening, or understanding things in written format, as in reading. So when you can't understand things when a native speaker is talking to you, your head is preoccupied with understanding what they're trying to say. So you can't even, it's not a you can't come up with what to say kind of thing. It's that you can't do it in time. So your brain cannot do things quickly enough. So you need to work on comprehension, you need to work on getting more input, you need to work on building a bigger vocab, you need to work on consistently having language input, be it in the form of writings, essays, books, or in the form of TV, podcasts, something with subtitles, preferably something with a text first. And only then can you work on expressing yourself. And even then, you need to start with writing first, because writing is a slower version of expressing yourself, right? Speaking is a faster version. There's a lot of things going on. So you need to like dumb it down a little bit. Break things down, break things into tiny baby steps. So instead of rushing to speak, try writing a few sentences. If you can't write 10 sentences front to back with substance, how do you expect yourself to suddenly speak? And then like understand what other people are saying. It's like, no, certain things take precedence over others. So I guess that's the bulk of it. I know it doesn't cover everything, but I'm running low on time. And I think at this point I've exhausted your attention span, and that's okay. I've made plenty of videos on the same exact topic before, and I'm continuing to make more on it. So stay tuned and be sure to follow me along on this journey, right? Ciao.